Hey there, Bubble Butts. It's Carrie with the Gilded Bubble, and today I've got a little bit of a surprise for you. This is a soap that I made using my logo to kind of create like a signature soap for myself. I used candy cane from Brambleberry because I wanted something really light and fresh, and I'd had a few requests for a minty scented soap, and I thought, well, I'm doing something simple here. And here's where the logo comes in. So you see this little cane that I've made. It's actually two canes. And I wish I had filmed it because I took these two round cane molds that I had and filled them up with pink soap that I made with Mad Micah's ballet slippers. And that, when I unmolded them, I kind of carved out a little notch in the larger one and stuck the smaller one to it. So what I ended up with was this cane of pink bubbles that go all the way through my soap and looks just like my logo. So the rest of the soap is really simple. I'm not using any other colors other than the little bit of ballet slippers that was in my canes. The rest of the soap is going to be white that I'm going to use titanium dioxide for. And of course, I'm using candy cane as the scent. So it's really, really simple, but I think you're going to agree with me that it turns out just beautifully. So let's take it back to the basics a little bit. Let's talk about how I make my soap. So I use a combination of olive oil, coconut oil, palm oil, shea butter, and I forgot one. Oh no. Yeah, I think castor oil. How did I forget the castor oil? That's the part that makes it bubbly. So that's what's in that bowl. I'm usually soaping between 90 and 120 degrees. I really don't pay that much attention to it. Once I get my lye down below about 130, I'll usually go ahead and soap unless I'm doing something complicated. So I poured my lye water solution in. I do add salt water. I add about 2 ounces of water that has 2 teaspoons of salt dissolved in it in order to make the soap a little harder, a little easier to unmold right away. This is really helpful in Florida where it's super, super humid. It allows me to be able to unmold my soap within 24 hours. Sometimes if I've got a softer batter, which I don't often vary from this recipe that much, then I'll go a little bit longer. But here I'm just kind of getting this batter to an emulsion because I want to go ahead and put the titanium dioxide in, and I want it to thicken up, but I don't want it to thicken up too much. Now I've pre-dissolved or pre-dispersed, I guess, my titanium dioxide in water. I buy water dispersible, and I do that at a rate of about a tablespoon of water to a teaspoon of titanium dioxide, and I just keep enough for a couple batches of soap so I don't have to worry about it getting going bad. I don't think that it would, but just in case, I don't keep a ton of it around, but it does help me to have some all the time for when I'm using it because I use a lot of white in my soaps, whether that's lightening up a mica or making a straight up white. Now you'll notice here that this isn't a pure white batter, but the nice thing about titanium dioxide is you don't have to get it to a pure white to have a white end product. You'll notice here I'm also making another cane, and those go into my Tuxedo Kitty soaps, and this is the muzzle of the cat. I turn the heart upside down and it makes a cute little muzzle. I'll throw a photo in here for you to see that. Now I don't have a video of me making this exact pink one, but I did do a video where I made a custom order and I made the background teal. It's the same design. If you can see that little heart upside down, that goes in the base of these little soaps, and they just make the cutest little guys. So that's what I'm pouring here. That's my cane that I will use. I made that soap the next day. Might have even been 2 days later. Either way, it doesn't harden up so much that it matters, but that little bit of soap batter doesn't really make a difference, and I was using a little bit smaller mold here, so I really didn't need all of it. The only downside to making this soap is I can't use my standard 3-pound mold. I end up with more of like a 2.5 pound mold because the soap canes that I bought, which I got from Wholesale Supplies Plus, and they took forever. If any of you are soapers out there, you know what I'm talking about. But they were for an 8-inch long mold. So if I did them in my 10-inch, I would have had 2 bars that didn't have it in there. So ultimately, I just decided to go ahead and go with the smaller mold. I do have 2 8-inch molds, and that's fine. I can go ahead and make this a little bit smaller batch. It allowed me to make some little hand-sized soaps. They're like a 1x1 square, and I sell those, 4 for $5 or 4 for $6, something like that. And they sell really well at markets, so I'm not too worried about it, but it left me enough extra to be able to do that heart cane for my cat soap, so I did these two kind of back to back. So as I said, this soap's really basic. We're really going back to basics here. I'm just kind of stirring this to make sure I've got it to the consistency that I want. I don't need it real thick. I don't even really need it to a medium trace. I really just need A very, 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 very light trace. Like I just need it thick enough to slightly suspend those canes. They're not super heavy, but I want this fluid enough that it fills the mold well, that it doesn't give me bubbles or, air pockets or, I don't have to spoon it in. So I'm kind of going for somewhere between a light and a medium trace. I don't really worry too much, but you can see there I'm not getting much trace. But the nice thing about the titanium dioxide, that does speed up your trace just a little bit. In fact, I've had issues in the past of TD making my batter really accelerate on me because I overmix. So I've been very careful the last few months about not overmixing. When I first started, I was doing really great with my soap making about, keeping my batter really fluid, and then I got cocky. You know how that goes. And I, about, several months into my soap making journey, I started getting a little blasé about it. And then over time, it just got to where I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And, she didn't know what she was doing. And so I just kind of made sure I went back to some basics. And this was a soap where I thought, you know what, I'm going to really focus on getting it to that point where I can suspend my cane mold in it. Because I do like to use those. That is one of my favorite. I don't do embeds on top. I don't typically do that sort of thing. But I do like embedding soap canes in the soap where you cut it and you get kind of a little surprise. So that's where the idea for this one came from. It also came from the way that I stamp my kitty soaps. And you know how much I love that stamp, even the scraper that I have. They both come from the same maker. That's a shop that's both on Etsy and has a separate website called Print 3D Simple. I'll leave a link in the description. But I absolutely love, love, love their products. And they were so kind and made me, well, I paid for it, obviously, but I got a custom stamp done for my logo. And if you look really closely in the bottom right corner of the screen, you can kind of see it. But they were just so gracious and had a little bit of a snafu with the order. And they were really great and sent me out a replacement right away. So if you're looking for stamps for soaping, it would even probably work for baking. I don't know if they use, I don't remember if they use food safe material, but I think they do. I'd have to look it up. Don't quote me on that. But if you're doing it for your own personal use, it's not going to matter so much. But it just really great for soap stamping, and then also their scrapers are really great. And of course they do custom work, and they're really great to work with. So highly, highly recommend. Obviously I've been stirring this soap for a really long time, but I've also been rambling. So there you go. I think we're just about there. I'm going to speed the rest of this up, and when I come back, I'll show you how I inserted that soap cane. Wiping out my mold a little bit, making sure there's no little hair or debris or little pieces of soap in there. Look at my little paper fluttering in the breeze there. And now we get to pour the soap. So again, a really simple soap, but you can see that that's about the consistency of a very thin pudding, melted ice cream, even if you want to think of it that way. And it's just thick enough to really allow me to put that cane in there and let it support it and not for it to fall directly to the bottom. So I'm going to grab that little pink cane that I made, and she's so cute. I love ballet slippers. It's almost exactly the color of my logo. So I really, really love it. And I'm looking at it to make sure I don't have any remaining holes or air pockets in it, because I don't want that to show up in the final product. And I'm doing that, of course, out of frame. What would a video from the Gilded Bubble be if Carrie didn't do everything out of the frame? Hey, look, there it comes. Wait, where'd it go? Come back. Come back. Hey, come back. Where are you going? Now what I'm doing here is letting it set up just a little bit more, because it still is a little thin for putting that in. Just trying to make sure that I keep this fairly fluid while allowing what's in the mold already to go ahead and set up just a little bit. Because again, if it falls through to the bottom, no big deal. But what'll happen, and this is kind of something that happened with my St. Patrick's Day soap, is that the canes can just kind of float to the bottom. And then when you go to unmold the soap, you might have an air pocket instead of soap at the bottom. I've had that happen even with the Tuxedo Cat one that I did, where you have to plane it off a little bit, and then of course that color is showing through the bottom of the soap, which isn't what I was going for here. So but yeah, you can see how thin that still is. I think, and you can see I've got trace. I think it could be a little bit from that mint fragrance. There are certain fragrances that kind of slow it down, but that's ultimately there what I'm doing. See, when I was talking about my stamp earlier, I should have talked about it there, but that's what the stamp is going to be like. So, and it's just a really great, look at that. These are so easy to use. You don't need to use like a hammer to do them or like a mallet or anything. You can just push it into the soap. I do it usually 2 days after I pour the soap. I will stamp them. They're still soft enough to stamp, but firm enough that I'm not going to get, the soap's not going to come up when I pull the stamp out of it. So the trick to doing that is to spray it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. But if your soap isn't set up enough, you're going to pull out some of that soap when you go to pull the stamp off. So I wait about 48 hours after I pour. So that means another 24 after I unmold. But yeah, it's starting to get pretty thick here, and I'm trying not to set the spatula in the batter. But I'm going to let that sit for just a second, but you'll get to see it right away because I'm going to cut here and come back to when I put the cane in. So I'm just going to check the consistency here, and you can see that's thickening up. That's a much thicker trace than I had a few seconds ago, or a few seconds for you. It was minutes for me. But you can see there it's holding its shape, so I'm real happy with how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that cane, and you can see here it's that beautiful pale pink. Maybe you can see it. Carrie, bring it back. Bring it back. There you go. So I was just checking the sides of which ones I wanted to put it in, and I'm checking my angle here because my logo isn't perfectly straight. The smaller bubble's a little off-centered from it, and I'm just making sure it's just setting in there so I don't have any air pockets underneath it, but I don't want it to go down too far. I only poured the soap maybe about a quarter of the way up, if that. It wasn't even probably that far. I wanted this to sit in the bottom quarter of the soap. And then, of course, my other soap is still fluid enough to pour, but it's not thick enough that it's going to disturb that cane. And then on the other side, I didn't focus as much on how well it was pouring. But it's good enough. You can see that I'll be able to shake that down and get the lumps out of it. I'm not going to have a bumpy top. You know, I don't like my textured tops. I don't know why. That's just a thing for me. I like them smooth. I like to plane them and make them look good. So here I'm going to jiggle it all around, get it in there really good. And that's it. That's all I have to do for that soap. So what am I going to do with this extra? Well, I'm glad you asked because the extra is going to go into a small mold. And I used glitter. I never use glitter, but it's eco glitter, so that's cool. But first I've got to put this guy in my frame so I don't have any bowing because you know how I love to overfill those molds. Put them all the way to the top. That way you get the largest bar you can. I like the size of bar that I do. I think it's a nice, size for fitting in your hand. So that's my argument there. So let me get everything set up and I'll show you how I'm going to use the remainder of the soap batter. So this little blue mold is my favorite for doing a little, sample size or size of soap that's really good for using as a hand soap at your sink. And I had this little sample of glitter. I believe it's Into the Mystic from Mad Micah's. It was a sample. They always send samples with their stuff. I love it. But I absolutely adore this glitter, but I don't use a lot of glitter. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and see what happens. I did something kind of dumb, but it ended up working out for me later on because I was able to use the rest of this glitter for another batch. But I filled too many of these cavities. I didn't need glitter in all of them. And of course, you get glitter everywhere. It is the herpes of the craft world. Thank goodness it's biodegradable. But I just wanted a little pizzazz on these guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill these with this batter. I have several of these in the shop. So if you want some candy cane scented little hand soaps by your kitchen or bathroom sink, you know where to find them. But yeah, this was just a simple way to use that extra batter. And I think it's also a really great way, if you're not sure if you like handmade soap or you're not sure about a soap maker's recipe and you really want to try it, check and see if they sell their end pieces from their loaves, or they have samples, or some give away samples like little slivers of soap. And that can really help you to decide if that's a soap maker, if you like their recipe or you like the particular scent, rather than maybe committing to a full bar. Even doing this, I'm messy. What the hell, Carrie? Come on, get your shit together. Although, aren't you guys proud of me? I've been a lot neater lately. I've really been good about cleaning up after myself, wiping up spills in the middle of it. And I have some streaks on my table there, but that's because it's stainless steel. Y'all know how hard it is to keep stainless steel perfectly shiny. So it's always clean when I start, and I always clean it up when I finish. So, I keep everything sanitary. I just am messy. That's not the same thing as being unhygienic, it can be, but it's not always. So yeah, I get this about half the way full, maybe a little more than, and get a few soaps out of it. And then I ended up using this, and I don't think I got that on camera. I think when I did the Tuxedo Cat soap, yeah, it was what I scraped off. I used the other half of this mold that had the glitter in it. So I also have some dark gray soaps with hollow glitter in them. I do love a good holographic glitter. I'm a big fan of holographic glitter nail polishes. Those are my jam. I love them. I don't do my nails very often because wearing these gloves, my hands sweat and then the nail polish peels off no matter how careful I am, but I do wear it from time to time. So that's it for this plain old batch of white soap, and let's take a look though at the cut because that's where the magic happens. No, I can't tell you how happy I am with how this came out. It's perfect. I will be making this in the future. I will probably try to carry it most of the time. Because it's just a good signature soap to have around, and I can try it with different scents maybe, or maybe I'll keep the candy cane scent. I don't know. Peppermint's nice, and it's pretty with the white, and it just turned out so perfect. It just takes planning to do those canes because I don't like to use melt and pour if I don't have to, so I like to make them out of cold process, which is what the rest of my soap is, so I like everything to be handmade. But I get 8 bars out of this, so that's not too bad. And here she comes. Now, it looks a little weird here because I haven't stamped them yet, but look at how cute that came out. So if you haven't seen my logo, you're going to get to know what it looks like when I stamp them. But yeah, that came out exactly like I wanted. I was able to get the smaller cylinder mold or smaller cylinder cane attached. There's a little gap in that one, but I got it attached pretty well to the larger one, and it really fit together just like my logo. That's probably the best one there, which is probably the one I'm going to photograph too. But, you know, I got a few little air bubbles and whatnot, but I can plane that off. I can kind of clean it up, and it's going to be the cutest darn thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean it up, photograph it, and you'll get to see it in 3, 2, so stinking cute. If you loved it, I would appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. Of course, you can always follow me here on YouTube by subscribing, or you can check me out on TikTok. I've been trying to do more over there, not doing so great, and I'm also on Instagram. I'm at The Gilded Bubble, or you can check out my soaps at thegildedbubble.com. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.